So I was asked to talk about Fusion Pharmaceutical, which is a Canadian company. And so I will get into how we built Fusion and what Fusion is all about. But of course, I will try to highlight how we interacted, our role, and some learnings for this on this journey. So that's the ambition with this presentation. But I guess not all of you know HealthCap. So just a quick HealthCap in summary. We've been around for actually soon to be 30 years. So we have invested in quite a number of companies over these years. We have taken 47 companies public. And as I think many venture capitalists in life science in particular use the IPO as a financing event. It's not an exit. It's really a way to raise capital for the companies. You can see there also that I use the word unicorns. That's a trendy word that our tech investors very often use, and you can see it in papers. And then you may forget that we in life science, we also create unicorns. We have created 14. The latest one is actually out of here. It's Bone Support. It's one of our portfolio companies. It's become a unicorn, which means that they are valued above $1 billion US. Bone Support is above $1 billion US today. Maybe me being a physician and doctor, I think this is something which is as important as a return on investment if you are to work in this business. And actually 34 approved products, pharmaceuticals, during this time period that we have been around is actually 45% of all new approved products at FDA over the same time period, which also tells you that running business or drug development in small businesses like ours is actually a very efficient way to bring products to the market. Let's now move to the topic of today, which is then radiopharmaceuticals. And I, of course, then have a special focus on Fusion Pharmaceuticals. So I will give you a little bit about what radiopharmaceutical is all about and how and what Fusion is doing, and then try to link a little bit of reflections from my behalf on this journey. We were very early, actually, in radiopharma. We invested already in a Norwegian company called Algeta in 2005, which we took public in 2007. And then the company was acquired by Bayer for $2.9 billion US. At the time when we invested, I would argue that there were very few that understood the value and the potential of radiopharma, and the interest in investing in drug development using radioisotopes was very low. So we took kind of a little bit of a giant leap, put some risk in the thinking that if this works, it must be something worthwhile to invest in. Algeta, I would argue, is really kicked off the modern era of radiopharmaceuticals. And now it's one of the hottest area in the pharma industry. We are still active in the space. Apart from Fusion, we are active in a company called Precirix and another one in Germany called Arisium. So why radiopharma? Just to simplify it a little bit with this slide, it's basically about taking an isotope, define a linker, and link the radioisotope to a targeting molecule, which could be an antibody, a small molecule, or a peptide. It usually is an antibody. And you can compare it very much to what's called the ADC, antibody drug conjugate, which if you compare the two areas, have a lot of similarities. It took a long time for ADCs to really become a commodity, and today is one also of the hottest area. If you see what Big Pharma is focusing on, most of Big Pharmas have ADCs in their pipeline. So rather than having a chemotoxin, you use an isotope that in principle is the same thinking. Now, you saw there on this one, you have therapeutic emission, which is really the type of radiation from the isotope, which could be alpha or beta. Those are the most common. You also have gamma, which is mostly used for imaging, which is another very interesting aspect of radiopharmaceutical, because you can use the gamma connected to the same antibody, and you use that in order to get an image that your product find the right tumor, and you can identify then that you have the right patient to give the treatment. And then you shift the gamma to an alpha or beta, and then you have the therapeutic agent for the patient that you know have the target. So Fusion decided, and that was one of the reasons we invested, they decided to use alpha emitters. And there are some advantages, and this is still a debate, and you can use beta in some instances and alpha in other instances. But in the short version here is that it's higher energy with alpha, it kills tumor cells more efficiently, but also it doesn't travel, the radiation doesn't travel for a long distance, which means that if you get the radiation, the isotope close to the tumor cell, you only kill the tumor cell. The radiation does not travel through the tumor cells into healthy tissue. So it's a very efficient way to kill tumors if you get it to the tumor. So a little bit then on the history here on Fusion and HealthCap. We were invited to invest in this company when it was created. It was created as a spin-out of an institute in Canada called CPDC. That had a lot of experience in chemistry, meaning that they understood the linker technology, they knew how to handle isotopes, but they never before had developed drugs. But they wanted to set up a company. They were looking for investors that had a knowledge in this space, and there were not that many. But they knew that we were early investors in Algeta, so even if this company was created in Canada, in Toronto initially, we were called and we were invited to invest. After quite quick due diligence, I must say, we understood that these guys were extremely skilled in the linker chemistry, which we have learned from Algeta is actually very tricky. They understood how to develop and produce and manufacture isotopes. So for us, it was quite clear that this was a very interesting potential company. So we joined already in the Series A in 2017. We were doing that together with J&J DC, which is kind of the corporate venture arm of JJ. And quite quickly we said that let's be a little bit bullish here. And now I come to some of the strategic decisions you have to make as an investor. Should we go just for one product and that would be good enough, because that's what we're doing in Algeta. It was enough with one product showing very good efficacy. Bayer bought it. Or should we actually here see it more as a platform and not just a kind of binary one product, will it work or will it not? So we were quite bullish, say let's do this for real. Let's do a fully fledged company with a pipeline that can go all the way. So we invited other investors already in the Series A, and we managed to actually attract a couple of US investors. So we had a reasonably good Series A, which is, of course, important. And then we continued. We worked closely. I was on the board from day one, and we managed to do a Series B. As you can see, we did an IPO in 2020. At that point in time, that was another very important decision. Should we go public or should we not go public? HealthCap, as you saw, has a tradition of taking companies public. We believe that's a very good way to do it, to raise money. But on the other hand, at this point in time, we were early on in clinical development. We had started to build a pipeline. We were in phase 1. As you know, in oncology, phase 1 is in patients, but still, we didn't really have very strong proof of concept data. Then you could argue, isn't that too high risk to go public? Because once you go public, you will start to be measured on clinical data. All the investors, and you guys know who are investors, what are you looking for? You're looking for, do you believe this will work? Well, you need to have some comfort. So maybe it was too early, but the market at the time, if you remember, 2020, There was basically no IPO window. But we managed to do that, and it was actually oversubscribed. So we believe it was the right decision because we financed the company, we secured that we have a long runway, even if we didn't have some very clear milestones in the short-term perspective. That became even more difficult because then you had the pandemic, and the pandemic really hit us when it comes to recruiting patients, get the clinical trials going. So we actually happened to end up in that scenario where we did not deliver to the market what we had promised, which was clinical data. So the share price was really, really suffering during this period, made us very nervous. But we managed to keep the thing going. We had a strong investor base, so we could raise money in consecutive pipes, and thereby pushing products. And that's another learning that I hope you share with me. In our space, I mean, pharma and biotech, you cannot save money, and at the same time build value. The only way to build value is to invest. It's the only chance to build value. So you have to look for possibilities to invest. So there is a rumor, as you know, and I know Johan shared this with me. He may not share everything I say, but this I think you share. The saying is, if there's money on the table, grab it. I think that's a learning, because dilution can be handled, in particular for management. But if you don't raise money, you don't build value. So let's see how this company now has developed. This is sort of what we decided. We decided that we should use the alpha, which are the smart bombs. We also decided, which was another very important decision to take, and that's a huge investment. But if you are to become a fully fledged company and also being attractive for a potential acquirer, one learning is that manufacturing, in particular these complicated areas like radiopharma, cell therapy, etc., to build your own manufacturing is actually extremely important. We took that decision, and we actually now have our own manufacturing facility. Now about data. I will come back to this and not dwell too much on about science, but this actually is very important for where the company is today. This is just to show you a little bit on that we build a pipeline, and as you can see, it's quite a broad pipeline, which is of course attractive for potential acquirers. Now on this slide, you can see these were the products that we had from the start. This one, which is now in phase 2, that was also a strategic decision. We said that due to the pandemic, we did not deliver milestone, we didn't deliver clinical data. And we started to see the whole radiopharma space was just growing. It was coming companies behind us, moving much faster. So we decided that one of the areas that really serve, where radiopharma potentially had a huge opportunity was in prostate cancer. So we actually in-licensed a product from academic group that already have some data, and that product could be immediately put into phase 2, and I will come back to that. The data with this product, and that this has now been shown, is that the whole area of prostate cancer and radiopharma has really been coming off. Novartis have acquired 2 companies, and in one of those companies, they were carrying a product called Pluvicto, which is for prostate cancer. It has the targeting molecule is PSMA. As most of you know, that's what you measure if you have prostate cancer. PSA is going up, and there's an antigen connected to this. So Pluvicto is today a $1 billion product, but you develop resistance, which is the classical thing you see in oncology. When you are on a treatment, suddenly it doesn't work any longer. What we can see by using an alpha emitter, Pluvicto is a beta emitter, coming back to where we started about this different mechanism. Using an alpha, you can see this is a resistant patient, and after 2 treatments, it's a complete response. So it's a very efficient product. Our own manufacturing was an important aspect, as I said. and which means that these are the different parts of the company that we have built. I see the time is running, so I jump to this one because just to summarize, because that's a time schedule which I think is important. Because we started, as I said, already in 2005/7 in Algeta, and that's really where it took off for Pharmaceuticals. And after this, Fusion was started. Endocyte, Advanced Allergen were acquired by Novartis, so they went into the space. Later on, you saw the first product that really made a difference from a marketing point of view was approved. And just lately, last year, Race Bio, Point Pharma was acquired by Bristol Myers Squibb and Lilly. And as I already mentioned, Pluvicto became a blockbuster, $1 billion product. And now, and I guess that's within the title that Jonas gave me, how you can build a company from start to be actually a high value company. AstraZeneca has proposed to acquire the company for up to $2.4 billion US. Why I say proposed is because you need to have a final agreement, of course, from shareholders. And guess what? The shareholders meeting started half an hour ago. So it may be so that there will be an acquisition. So I think I stop there. Then by just saying there are a lot of strategic discussion and decision points that you have to take to actually do a journey like this. But even if you don't do it as broad as this, to raise a lot of money, it boils down to some things that I think we all share in common. It's science-based. It's high-quality science. It's evidence-based. Science is driving this, and that's the most important part. The other thing is that you have to, again, be ready to see if there's a chance to raise money, you should do it, because that is really driving value. But then it really boils down to data, data, and data. So I'll stop there, and thanks for listening. Thanks a lot.